Hey there, do you know what this is? This is the debt clock of the United States of America. It shows that as of right now, the federal government owes 23,246,591,000,000. And as you can see, the amount increases by the second. If we divide this debt among every single person in America, each of us would owe $70,602. So how did the debt get to this point? The federal government takes in $3.5 trillion in tax revenue, but it spends $4.5 trillion. By spending more than it takes in, there's a shortfall or a deficit of $1 trillion. By running a deficit year after year, it adds to the debt, which has surpassed $23 trillion. Doing something about this debt should be a priority before it becomes a national crisis. We should all be concerned about the federal government's out-of-control spending. Since 2001, Congress has modified the debt limit 14 times. Our current president boasts about how well the economy is doing. If the country is doing this well, why can't the federal government balance its budget? And why isn't the government paying this debt down? If CEOs ran their businesses like this, they'd be in jail. If you and I ran our household finances like this, we'd be bankrupt. Congress should not be able to refuse to exert fiscal discipline and keep printing money. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, this affects all of us because the government has to pay interest on that debt. It's like a credit card. If you don't pay off your balance, at the end of the month, you have to pay interest on what you owe. Right now, the interest on that debt is $378 billion. That is $378 billion that the federal government doesn't have anymore to spend on healthcare, education, infrastructure, or anything that matters to you. The Congressional Budget Office projects that this interest will be the fastest growing program in the budget and will rise to $819 billion in 10 years. The travesty here is that our children and grandchildren are the ones who will be responsible for paying this debt. How can they have a better future if their taxpayer dollars has to be used to pay the interest of this generation's debt instead of paying for their health care or their education? We need leaders now who are willing to step up to the plate to balance the budget before we have a national debt crisis, which is why I'm running as an independent candidate for U.S. Senate for North Carolina. My name is Sunita Singh, and I'm not a career politician, but I'd like to go to Washington to work on a problem that the career politicians created and are not talking about, because if they do, they will not get reelected. Milton Friedman, a well-known economist, said, "Nobody spends somebody else's money as wisely as he spends his own." Think about that. Politicians are praised for their fundraising skills. What about their money management skills? The problem with politicians shamelessly asking for your donation is that when they get to Congress, they can't balance the federal budget because they're used to extravagantly spending free money they get from fundraising. And it becomes a vicious cycle because then they're beholden to lobbyists and can't pass legislation to lower healthcare costs or prescription drug costs. One of the main concerns people voice to me is, how are you going to compete with the Republicans and Democrats when you don't have the backing of a political party? And my answer is, we should have a government for and by the people, not by and for the rich and powerful. Senator Tom Tillis, who is the current incumbent North Carolina senator, won his seat in 2014. Do you know how much money the Republicans spent on that race? $124 million. $124 million. That was the most expensive race in US Senate history. I have no money or political backing, but I can't let the odds prevent me from fighting for what's right. The great Wayne Gretzky said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." It's time to do more than vote, because the fiscal health of our country matters. A $23 trillion national debt is not okay. And what we do about it today will affect our tomorrow and our children's future. You may not know this, but in the 2016 election, 2 million registered Republicans voted in North Carolina. 2.2 million independents voted, and 2.4 million Democrats voted. Imagine that. North Carolina has 2.2 million unaffiliated registered voters who have no one to represent them on the ticket. When I ask people to sign my petition, they say, "Oh, I'm a registered Democrat," or "Oh, I'm a registered Republican." I understand your party loyalty. I'm not asking you to cast your vote. I'm just asking you to please sign my petition so I can get on the ballot to give voters more choice. So if they're concerned about the federal government's out-of-control spending, they have a candidate that's running on that issue. So please go to my website, sunitasingh.com, download my petition, sign it, get anyone around you who's a North Carolina registered voter to sign, and mail it back to me, please. It's that easy. To my friends who say, "Why can't I DocuSign on your website?" The answer is, the North Carolina State Board of Elections has to have original ink signatures to certify. Also, each county has to have its own separate sheet of signatures. So please, I need 71,545 signatures of North Carolina registered voters by March 3rd to get on the ballot. If you think Congress should curb the out-of-control spending and address the national debt problem, let's do this. Sign my petition as soon as possible to get me on the ballot. Let's keep America great. Thank you.